The Margaret and Robert stories. This is the second video for session 2 of the Legacy Leader's Guide. The Margaret and Robert stories are why the same words mean different things. So I'm going to tell you about two people who both said the exact same thing. I value quality of life over quantity. One of them chose comfort care and died peacefully in 2 weeks. The other chose aggressive treatment and lived 6 more months in and out of the hospital. How did the same value lead to opposite decisions? That's what these stories are about. Let's start with Margaret's story. Margaret was 67, former hospital administrator, extremely organized, very clear communicator, just like you. When I asked her what she wanted at the end of life, she said, quality of life over quantity. I don't want to be kept alive just for the sake of being alive. I said, okay, tell me more. What does quality of life mean to you? And that's when the real story came out. Here's her story. When my mother was dying, she had advanced dementia. She didn't know who we were anymore. She couldn't speak. She couldn't move on her own. She was just existing. And my siblings kept pushing for more treatment, more interventions, because they couldn't let go. So my mother spent 9 months in a facility, hooked up to machines, being kept alive by medical intervention. 9 months as a body, not a person. I watched my siblings torture themselves visiting her every week. She didn't know they were there, but they kept going because they felt guilty. And I watched my mother, this brilliant, sharp, funny woman, reduced to a shell. That's not life. That's just not dying yet. So I promised myself I would never do that to my kids. Here's what Margaret actually meant. If I can't think clearly, if I don't recognize my family, if I can't be myself, let me go. I don't care if my body could keep living. That's not for me anymore. Cognitive function is everything. If my mind is gone, I'm already gone. Don't keep my body alive just because you can. So Margaret's non-negotiable cognitive function. If she couldn't think, she didn't want to be kept alive, period. That's what quality of life meant to her. Robert's story is this. He was only 55 and CFO of a tech company, married 30 years, 4 kids, 6 grandkids. When I asked him what he wanted at end of life, he said, quality of life over quantity. I don't want to suffer just to live longer. Same words as Margaret. But watch what happened when I asked him to get specific. Here's his story. My dad died when I was 22. Heart attack. Gone in an instant. I never got to say goodbye. I never got to tell him what he meant to me. I never got to introduce him to my wife, my kids, my grandkids. He missed everything. And I've spent my whole life terrified of that. Dying suddenly and leaving people behind without getting to say everything I need to say. So when you ask me what I want at end of life, here's what I want. Time. Robert said, I don't care if I'm in pain. I don't care if I'm bedridden. I don't care if I'm medicated out of my mind. If there's a chance I can get more time with my grandkids, even just to be in the room with them, even if I can't talk, I want every minute I can. Try everything. Don't give up on me. Here's what he actually meant. I will trade comfort for time. I will trade clarity for time. I will trade everything for more time with my family. If there's even a 10% chance treatment works, try it. I'll deal with the side effects. I'll deal with the pain. What I can't deal with is leaving too soon. Robert's non-negotiable, time with family. He'd sacrifice cognitive function, physical comfort, everything for more time. That's what quality of life meant to him. Same words, opposite values. Remember, Margaret and Robert both said quality of life over quantity. But Margaret's quality meant being mentally present. Robert's quality meant being physically present with family. Margaret would choose comfort care. Robert would choose aggressive treatment. If their families didn't know the specifics, they'd be guessing, or worse, fighting, about what their loved one would have wanted. Now you can see why vague values don't work. Your family needs to know what shaped your values, the story behind it, what you would actually choose in specific scenarios, and what non-negotiable versus what's flexible. That's what you are figuring out in our next session, session 2. When you show up on Tuesday, you're going to think about your own Margaret or Robert moment. What's your non-negotiable? Cognitive function, time with family, independence, comfort. You are going to rank your values across these 4 decision domains. Here they go again. Decision domain number 1, cognitive function versus physical function. Decision domain number 2 is quality of life versus quantity of life. Decision number 3, independence versus safety. And decision domain number 4, being a burden versus accepting help. And then you're going to learn how to tell your family the story behind those values, so they never have to guess. Come ready to get specific, and I'll see you then.